based on the same hull as the 585 SUV, which we've already seen on the channel, but a lot more going on here. I suspect many of you who are seriously interested in this boat have probably already had a Riviera before, so I'm just going to get cracking and we'll get straight into the details. In this video, we're going to talk about speeds, fuel flow, sensation. We're going to go out into the ocean, run through some waves, upswell, across and downswell, and I'll just discuss with you what I find along the way. We've got the Humphrey stabilizers, they're active fins, and we've got interceptors at the back operated through the same system. We're running the Volvo IPS 1350s, they're 1000 horsepowers. Keep watching, let's get cracking. All right, guys, we're in the ocean. We've got southeast rolling swell, a metre, a little bit more at times, southerly winds building, sort of southeast, going easterly, probably 10 knots to 12 knots at the moment, buildings 15, maybe 20 later today. So I'm just pointing in a southerly direction at the moment, so we're going to be going with the swell on our port bow, and then we're going to turn out into it a little bit, so we'll go into the waves and then we'll go back down and we'll run the boat at a few different speeds. I'll talk to you about the fuel flow. We've got the 1350 Volvo 1350 IPS, which is a 1000 horsepower unit on this boat. Almost full tanks, 4,500 litre capacity, 36.5 tonne light ship. I've forgotten what that is in pounds. I know a lot of you guys are asking me about that from America, so I'll actually leave the specs in the description below for you guys watching, because I know many of you are interested. So just idling along at 750 revs, GPS speed of 5.7, just going to get it straight on the plane. Same hull as the 585 SUV. Obviously this one I'm steering from the flybridge. So the first real thing you're going to notice compared to the other boat, it's just incredibly luxuriously quiet. It really is. Riv do a great job with their insulation. I've been to the factory, I've seen where they strategically locate foam throughout the boat for sound deadening, also lead lined special sound insulation interiors down below, which does make a difference when you're walking around the boat at sea. But here we are, we're now doing 1840 revs, a GPS speed of 17 knots, not getting any wash over the bow. I noticed that flying the drone before, and we've got proper seas, so you know this is the sort of day when you would happily do a run up or down the coast. But let's increase the speed. In terms of my fuel flow, I've got a total fuel flow of 230 litres an hour, both motors at that 1850 revs, and keeping an eye on things on the back of the boat with my camera. Got my triple display here, you can set it up as you like, and the comfort of this helm, it really is, it's fantastic, it's so good. Let's get up to 2000 revs. Okay. Waves coming on this direction here. GPS speed of 21 to 21.5 knots. Very comfortable, even from this high position here. I've got the Humphrey active stabilizers, so that's running the interceptors at the back of the boat, and it's doing stabilization with active fins at the same time. That is set on the auto setting at the moment. I've got my C-zone, I've got my Volvo Penta screen here, but you can do all your engine instrumentation up here on the dash as well, I should say. And we'll talk about the actual dash display in more detail in the walkthrough, because now I'm going to turn and we'll start heading into some of these waves at 21 knots. Actually, before I do that, I'm just going to increase the speed just to show that you can do it. This is a really lovely hull. No rattles or bangs. 23 knots, 24 knots, 2,270 revs, 370 litres total. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to back that speed off because I don't like going fast into waves. I can just feel the stabilization doing its thing. 23 knots, 2,100 or thereabouts revs. We're going to go into some swells now. 300 litres consumption and rolling up and over them. You could have the thing on auto and sit here for hours on end, guys, if you're transiting between A and B. It really is that comfortable. It is a different sensation being another story up higher compared to the SUV, so you just got to get used to that, but don't forget the views are incredible. Hopefully that camera is picking some of that up for you. So it is a real different experience. A couple of short waves here now. We'll see if any water goes over the bow. Nah, sending it out the side. So that flare at the front, I'm sure there's going to be a point that we reach where we can get water up and over, but I just have not been able to do that yet. Okay. All right, we're going to turn to port. We'll start going down swell. These seats, they go forward, they go up, down, they go back. I've actually got the footrests deployed at the moment for my little legs. Thank you, Riviera, for thinking about men with short legs. But if you've got big legs, or if you're a tall bloke or girl, this is also going to work for you. You've got so much room above your head here. Standing's not a problem, so that's even easy. I'm confident doing that here in a bit of the rolly stuff. That's fine. But you really are so comfortable just setting yourself in this position here. So let's increase the speed. Okay, now we're going down swell. 24 and a half. We'll just run with that for a bit. We'll get it on 2,300 revs. 26. Feel the speed increasing with the swell. Fuel flows at 376 litres an hour, but that's 14 litres per nautical mile. So I'm not going to sit at this full load out in the ocean all day. That doesn't make sense, but just letting you know that you can do it. But if we bring it back to, say, somewhere in the 85%, we'll just see what speed we get. I'm at 90% load there. That's giving me 24.5 knots. And then that's a 335 litres an hour total. Again, I'm at that 14 litres per nautical mile. We'll just run that for a little bit, and then I'll back it off again, and we'll see what we get out here. Just entering a bit of a dirty water up ahead. There's been quite a bit of rain here in Queensland, so the Broadwater's a little bit dirtier than it was when I was here last. So let's just back it off when we're out here, just to get below 80%. You just don't need to raise your voice. You could hold a conversation. The air conditioning vents are everywhere. I've got vents here, here, there. So the temperature control is great. With that low sun, you know, it's early in the morning here. It's probably about 7 a.m. right now. So the sun's rapidly rising, but it is summer, so it's hot here. But the overhang of this roof structure was already starting to provide me a good amount of sun protection. So it really is only at those early parts or latter parts of the day when you're going to need your sunnies for sure, because once that sun's up high in the sky, we've got a good amount of tinting here, and the overhang is providing us quite a bit of protection. So that's not a problem. My visibility as well is fine. Like we'll talk about that in more detail when we get inshore, but I can see the bow from my position. Hopefully this camera's going to be giving that to you as well. I can see, obviously can't see the platform, but I got the camera for that. But I can definitely, with this sliding window, slide that open, get my head out, and look out the port side. And because this boat's got the optional helm for fishing out the back here, you could also, if you're wanting to look out the starboard side and run the boat from up here, you can do, but there's wing stations downstairs as well, and I'm sure you can do remotes too. So the waves are getting a little bit steeper here. I'm just going to go slightly wide, coming in at 23.5 knots. That's 86% load. The boat's attitude, you know, at the higher speeds the bow raises a little bit, but from this height it doesn't provide any hindrance to my visibility. I feel like you really could, a guy of my stature, 5'7", could actually just drive this boat from a seated position pretty much 90% of the time. So there's not a huge necessity for me to have to get up and see what's going on acceleration or at other times. All right, I'm just going to look for traffic and surfers. There are people who swim across this, and I don't really want to I don't really want to run over anyone today. That's not going to make for great content. Okay, I think we're clear. Coming in at 23 knots. I'm going to start to increase speed as soon as we get out of the wave zone. And now we're going to do a full speed test. We're going to do it with the tide and then up against the tide, and we'll see what speeds we get. I'm leaving those Humphreys in auto. Okay, it appears to be all clear of traffic. Going to make a few waves for these tinnies, but sorry about that, boys. They're fishing in the swell anyway, so I don't think it bothers them. Okay, increasing speed, 25 knots, 2,240 revs. Bit of confused water here. We'll just run through that before we bring the load up. We're sitting on 90% load right now. That tender is just sitting rock solid out there as well, and at no time has the any of the wash appeared to interfere with it. But I note that you can raise the platform, so if you were in really rough seas, you could actually do that and protect the tender a little bit more. And apparently these guys are doing a bit of fishing on this boat, so if they want to back down on a fish, they have the option to do that reasonably well by raising that platform. Okay, so we've got a limited amount of space here. Green on the right, red on the left. Clear for traffic, a couple of tinnies out of the channel. I'm increasing my speed. All right, 2,300, 2,320, that's revs. I'm gonna have to slow down reasonably soon, but I'm seeing 29.9 knots and climbing. I got 383 total. That's 12 litres per nautical mile. Got a small boat approaching me up ahead, which I'm probably gonna have to slow down for because I'll give him too many waves. 32 knots, 383 steady, 33 knots. I think that's our top speed going with the tide, 33. And I'm gonna start coming off the plane. Definitely a boat you want to check behind you when you're coming off the juice on this one. All right, he's on the wrong side of the channel, but that's okay. I will just turn. Nobody's behind me. Oh, he's one of those bass boats. He's got a tiny low bow there. He's definitely not going to want any waves. Okay, here you go, mate. You can make it over this now. Okay, turning to port. Yeah, that camera's great. So if you are wanting to check how much swing room, you know, it's a big boat, 65 feet overall or thereabouts. You can do a bit of that on the camera. There you go, mate. Yeah, he's made it over. No water over the bow. How good are we? How polite are we? All right, now we're going to accelerate again. Okay, we're going to do it against the tide. I'm going to get up to speed as soon as I can, just to give you a representation of what's possible. Slow increase, 1800, 1900, 300 litres consumption total and climbing, 17 litres a nautical mile at the moment. Oh, sorry, 17. Yes, 17 litres a nautical mile. Okay. 22, 23 knots, 24, 25 and climbing, 26, got a bit of tidal flow here actually, 27, that's 2,400 revs, I'm seeing 2,400 revs, 14 litres a nautical mile, 387 litres total consumption, 27.8 knots. 28 knots. Okay, I think that's what we've got going into the tide now. The tide's going to break right and left here, so it's going to be less accurate because we might start going with the water. So I will slow it down moderately. So observations. If you're wanting to eat up miles, this is going to be a lovely experience for you. If sound and insulation is important to you, again, this is going to be a really great experience. But what I'll do, I'm going to go anchor the boat. We'll talk to you about how that process is, and then later in this video we will also demonstrate the technology that we have now available to us via this DPS. We saw that on the SUV, and if you are used to IPSs from say 5 and 10 years ago, it's totally changed in terms of the accuracy and the sensation you get at the helm. It's so much better that if you were perhaps not a fan of IPS or not sold on it, you need to check this out. It really is that good now. It's to the extent that if you had the right skill set, and it doesn't need to be too high on these things because they designed them with practicality in mind, you could run a boat like this almost solo or just you and your partner. Like, it's that good. It can slide in, touch up against the dock, and put gentle sideways pressure while you go and sort your lines and fenders out. So keep watching. We'll go and drop the anchor, and then we'll have a play with the parking and demonstrate what we find. So Pete, this is the relaxing part because you've activated dynamic positioning system, haven't you?
Yes.
Very good. So the boat's just holding us on station right now. As you can see from the drone there. And so now you're taking command from the wing station on the starboard side. I'll let you guys see that. A little bit close on port. No, you're good. You're good. Lovely. So Pete, just to wrap that up for everyone while the cameras are still going, you left the flybridge, activated dynamic positioning.
Yep.
The boat held station, came down to the starboard wing station, took control.
Yeah.
And then you walked it in.
Yeah.
Did you use the setting where you come back in increments, or just did it manual?
No, I just did it manually.
Yeah, cool.
Just
so you
no
have
dock assist.
You've got the option to do dock assist where it'll just by tapping the joystick, it'll come back in 1 meter increments and then hold station.
Yeah.
But you just did it manually, which is easy too.
Yeah.
And hopefully everyone could see that on the camera. Awesome. So I hope that was valuable, guys. I hope you learnt a thing or two and got a better understanding, and whether it's the single level of the SUV or the dual levels, the fishability, the extra real estate, and the functionality that we've got going on here. If you find this content valuable, please do us a favor, subscribe, like, share it with your mates, get on the Patreon and support it if you can. That's how I stay independent, and that's how hopefully you guys can use this content to educate yourself. What can I say? It's outstanding. I really am a fan of this particular hull. Getting an opportunity to run it out in the ocean just proves to me once again that Riviera are doing a great job of running boats or building boats that you can run offshore and basically run anywhere. And all this new tech, as we've just seen, it truly does make it a boat that you can operate single-handed if you've got the skill set or with minimal crew. So think about that. See you on the next one.